What is good, guys? Charles from Team COG coming at you guys here. The curse is over. It's finally over. I entered in a small remote duel locals and took that, you guessed it, right? You guys know what it is? Crusadia. I took that to that remote duels, and finally I went 4-1, only suffering one loss from Zoo Eldritch, because again, that deck is a war crime. Geneva Convention needs to be called on that deck ASAP. But anyway, guys, that game went to game 3 anyway. But one of my friends, Loki, one of my friends from way back when down in Kentucky, their locals shut down because of this pandemic. Sadly, they hope to reopen eventually and, get some help from the government. But sadly, they had to shut down. So he's like, they made an online Discord community. And I was just talking to him, catching up. And I was like, man, I've been really wanting to play some more remote duels lately. And he's like, hey, why don't I just rally a few of my team members and we just have a small remote duel thing, like $50, first place, $25, like second place, And I was like, sure. I mean, not expecting him to be able to get that many players. And sure enough, guys, sure enough, he did. And it ended up being like 12 plus people. So it was, we decided due to time not to top in the top 4. So at the end of the day, I went 4-1. Played against, so like the ironic thing is he's like, they're playing new decks, new decks they picked up. Those new decks happen to be meta decks, so a few of the guys were new with Drytron. In fact, I didn't play a single rogue match the entire day unless you count Zoo Eldritch. I played 2 Drytron, 2 Virtual World, 1 Zoo Eldritch, and I lost to Zoo Eldritch. And it's because of this new list I took, I was really excited to try this new list. And because this list plays through Droll like it's nobody's business, which is awesome considering Droll hurts Drytron and Droll hurts us, like the Crusadia Skuldred-S thing. But yeah, guys, so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and hop in, roll into the intro. And I just want to make an announcement, since it's not going to be in the intro. These shirts, guys, we want you to join the crusade. It's backwards for you guys, whatever. But these shirts are for sale down in the description down below. Go to the Team COG company.site, check them out. Thank you, guys, and let's get into the video. Alright guys, before we get into the video, I want to tell you guys to join the Crusade today. Get awesome perks and rewards. Get access to discounts on the website. Don't forget to check out our website down below as well. Get access to awesome products and sometimes some members-only products. But if you guys want to support the channel, check out that website. Get some awesome gear, awesome merch. It goes a long way. Huge shout out again, and let's get into the video. Alright guys, here we are. I'm going to showcase you guys the deck profile real quick, run through it. Like I said, this is more of a local report than it is a deck profile. I ended up going 4-1, like I said in the introduction. I played 2. Round 1 was Drytron, round 2 was Drytron, round 3 was Virtual World, round 4 was Zoo Eldritch, round 5 was Virtual World. There was like 12 of us playing, so there was like Infinite Tracks, not Infinite Tracks, the Train deck, excuse me. I think there was Infinite Tracks splashed in there. Then there was like 1 Infernoble player, and then there was a just pure Eldritch player. Like that's all he was playing, like trying to force out the fusion and stuff like that. And I think too, there's a few other things, but I can't quite remember. But that's all I ended up playing was 2 Drytron, 2 Eldritch, or excuse me, 2 Drytron, 2 Virtual World, and 1 Eldritch, Zoo Eldritch. And so this list here is designed to practically play through Droll. And the problem I had at the CLS was that every time that I would, I won all my dice rolls. Like, guys, watch this. This my Mias dice, they're lucky. 6. I mean, I never roll below anything like that, except for, there we go, there's a bad roll, but it's only because it's on camera. But for the most part, all the dice rolls I kept winning at the CLS, but I never, the hands I would draw into a Skuldred were not that good. I always would just end up either climbing up to Equimax or passing. It's just my draws were not that great, which it never has happened. That has never happened. But the thing about this deck, I love this deck ever since its inception in Cybernetic Horizons, so I've always tried to adapt it and overcome the obstacles. Something I would like to quickly note, though, is that I did try going second with this deck. I tested this going second, and I don't think that the going second strategy is viable. You practically are putting your hope into drawing one of your board-breaking cards in order to even play. And let's be honest, guys, against, Virtual World and against Drytron, that's not going to happen every time. And just, I mean, what are you going to do when they end up, having when they end up having a Vanity Ruler? Okay, you don't draw your out to it, you lose. Okay, you draw your out to it, but they have, at least for sure 2 hand traps that destroy and remove, which is this deck's #1 weakness, is destroying and removing. I personally, do whatever you want, but I personally prefer to play this deck going first and then sideboard to go second. And it just gives you versatility. And there was a few hands, or a few games where I tested prior to the event with my friend Isaac. We just, hands down, I would just go second without siding, and the new engine that I'm incorporating allows you to remove back row pretty easy, and it's just, you can put a lot of damage on before you even go into Equimax, which is really cool. But anyway, let's just jump into the list and get there. Just to breeze through everything, guys. Just 3 of all the Crusadias, 3 Maximus, triple Draco, triple Arborea, triple Reclusia, triple Leonis, and the 1 honorary World Crown. You play all of them because you don't play the game if you don't see a Crusadia, and you just have to see a Crusadia to win. And so you just have to capitalize on playing the max amount of all 5. Crown is an honorary one. This is another one of those cards where if you draw with it onto your Skull Dread, you can like put up a form of interruption. Drytron kind of is this deck's worst matchup because inherently they can just out Echo Max, which is one of the strongest negates we have, by just making Anima and baiting it. So putting this out there against Drytron, allowing you just to stop the Anima from even baiting the Echo Max is really good. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, nothing really has changed. Triple Paralytic Seed, you have to play these. In my opinion, this is what allows you to... We no longer have Azathoth, which I think people forget we even played, especially new players coming in. Azathoth shut off hand traps. Paralytic Seed gives us Trap Chicks Rafflesia, which is with the cost of playing 1 main deck brick, is a weaker version of Azathoth, which just allows us to push through hand traps and play through hand traps, which is what the deck needs to do. And again, later on, like this card not only pushes through hand traps, but when you are resolving it, like later in the turn, like when you draw this off of your Skull Dread, you go through your new combo plays, and then you end up making the Echo Max at the end of your combo. This just gives you a for sure Dweller to go into. Something that's back in the deck is triple Ranru and 1 Gigabyte. So something very interesting. The reason I went this route instead of playing like an Ari Fire, Nefarious, Archfiend, and Nefariousness is that these two loop each other very well, and they're not once per turn, so they can continually loop each other, which is awesome. But more importantly, I just wanted to have Dragon Extenders to where you didn't have to use your Draco as often, so like you're holding back the Draco, and I'll explain why you wanted to hold back the Draco more, but like sometimes you don't have to, but holding back the Draco was something that I wanted to do all the time. That's something like I wanted to do was hold back Draco until my Skull Dread, then summon Draco, recur the resource, and then special the other resource, which I'll get to. You'll see here in a second why we're doing that. But Draco and Gigabyte are just awesome. I inherently thought about cutting Quick Launch from the deck and just playing more of the familiars, just because how good they are. There's not much more to say. They just inherently special summon. For those who don't remember, we had to, like before when Azathoth was still around, this is how we made Azathoth, was we had 1 Crusadia plus a buttload of level 4 extenders that allowed us to make Azathoth underneath the Magius, and then we just comboed off without any fear. But now that Azathoth's gone, it's practically the same concept to make Rafflesia, but we just need an additional extender to go on, because Rafflesia, we don't want to link off the Rafflesia because then we don't get the utility of the Rafflesia. But 3 Ranru, 1 Gigabyte. Blood Riders Darkness Metal. Now this is where so the next cards we're going to go into will be the bricks of the deck. Red Eyes Darkness Metal is not as much as a brick. I'd call it a pseudo brick. You don't want to see it in your opening hand, but just because you saw it, if your hand is still playable, it doesn't just sit there in your hand. You can eventually get it out through your combo. That's why it's here. It's just kind of like a pseudo. It's not really a Garnet. It's not really a brick. And more like a Vision It like this. This is Gymnite Garnet in World Chalice. That's the best way to do it. You don't want to see it because you want to send it off your Brilliant Fusion. You don't want to see Red Eyes Darkness Metal because you want to summon off your LP. But if you do see it, you can still play the game. It doesn't end your entire strategy. Now on to the 3 last monsters that are horrible bricks in the deck is, of course, Gameciel, the win condition of the deck, Tracer, which we summon off a Quick Launch, and that's right, Codebreaker 0 Day. So I featured the Codebreaker engine a long time ago, and I just showed Case a quick combo with it, and I didn't really like it, so I moved away. Well, I incorporated it back in just to retouch base on it and try it extensively, and I love it. Huge shout out to, I think he's Wowzers373. He has a few Crusadia videos up, and he plays this engine. He exhibits what you can do with this engine, so I just took that into my mind, watched some of his videos, and then I kind of just evolved it from there. Another reason why I was thought about cutting out Quick Launch and playing more of the familiars is because Tracer is a brick. You see Tracer plus Quick Launch, that's 2 dead cards in your hand. I didn't want to play another Rocket because that's another brick in the deck. The bright side of playing the familiars is that you actually, like this right here, like the familiars are always going to be live. As soon as you make Magius, they're always live. And you know, like, it just allows you to prevent the rock better. But again, Tracer gives us that ability. It's such a strong card. If you draw Quick Launch off a Skull Dread, it's immediately live. Whereas if you draw a familiar off a Skull Dread, you have to somehow get a Spellcaster out or use the Skull Dread summon to be able to get that familiar out of your hand. Whereas if you draw Tracer, you just put it back, draw in a Quick Launch, and there you go. So it's kind of like 50-50 in my opinion, but nothing more can be said. In this list, especially playing the Codebreaker package, if you happen to hard open Gameciel and not waterfront, you can special summon this, like special Crusadia from your hand, then you Skuldred to special summon the Kaiju, and then you just make the Codebreakers here, Codebreaker Swordsman with the Crusadia and the Kaiju. So you still get to have the utility of the Kaiju without it just sitting in your hand, which is kind of cool. But that's it for the monsters, guys. Moving on, still waterfront in this format where there's those hyper decks such as not World Chalice. I wish World Chalice was still meta or still relatively good, but when you're in that format where Virtual World and Drytron exist, as Virtual World, see, I got it. Yeah, I mixed it up. WC is like short for World Chalice. VW is short for Virtual World. I'm dyslexic, guys. Cut me some slack. We have 3 YuGiOh Waterfront. This is the win condition of your deck. You want to see this in your opening hand, and what the Codebreakers allow you to do is if you see it off your first Skuldred, it was always kind of a struggle to be able to get enough counters on Waterfront, but what the Codebreakers allow you to do is to get those counters on there, make another Skuldred, draw more cards, and still be able to put out the Gamma-Seal. It also allows you to put up more interruptions besides just Gamma-Seal and Echomax. The Codebreaker engine just allows you to play through Droll. It allows you to play, put the counters on the waterfront, and just allows you to put up more hard negations on board to where, like, if they are going to Forbidden Droplets you, and you don't have the setup to negate it with Echomax, which this deck inherently can do. That's why it's good against Dark Balloon on More and Forbidden Droplets. You do have the ability to put such high impact monsters on the field that they have to discard 3 to 4 cards just to out your entire board. And at that point, unless they're playing a full-on Graveyard Reliant deck, you still get a turn. But Waterfront just is a card that Gamma-Seal just negates and banish as long as there's counters on this card. And you have the ability to fuel your counters yourself during your opponent's turn and just make a stack of counters during your turn. So not much more can be said. Let's just go quick launch. Triple E-Tele for Rocket Tracer. Yeah, Rocket Tracer. Not much more can be said. This card, in theory, you see one of it, the other 2 are dead, but since you played 2 Pot of Avarice, you can always put back that Rocket Tracer that makes the other 2 copies of Quick Launch live. But speaking of that, 2 Avarice, I'm not playing Desires because we play too many 1-ofs and too many combo pieces to do it, but Pot of Avarice is a great card to draw off of Skuldred. If you see it, one of it in your opening hand, you're kind of you don't want to see it like that. It does give you a little bit of gas to push through hand traps if you do get hand trapped, but you really would rather see an extender. You want to see this off of the Skuldred. I have been able to actually resolve multiple Skuldreds because of this card. You just continually just cycle through your cards. It really felt like OG World Chalice because you're able to make like 3 or 4 Skuldreds thanks to Pot of Avarice putting back the Skuldreds. But it just free resources. I mean, come on, like especially when you're late in the combo and you just put all your extra deck monsters back, you draw 2 free cards. It's almost like you didn't even pay anything. There was no cost, it was just free pot of greed at that point. But yeah, I do recommend playing this because you do need those utilities. Sometimes those extra cards come up, and it just gives us a better grind game. Moving on to the Holy Trinity, these 3 here. I know people have liked Living Fossil. I even played Living Fossil for a while, but I like Guard Dragon because it's searchable and it doesn't banish the monster. Yes, if you happen to normal summon a Crusadia, they interrupt your normal summon. Living Fossil can bring back that normal summon, but it banishes it when it leaves the field. You still get to play. I just prefer this because it's searchable. It gives 3 targets for Crawler to search from the deck, which is awesome. In Succession, Monster Reborn, I don't even need to explain these anymore. 1 Crusadia Power and 1 Call by the Grave. So this is very interesting. I decided to go this route because I wanted to have the versatility. Crusadia Power in multiples always felt bad, and that seemed to be the curse that I had when I was at the CLS, was I'd see multiples of these on my draws, and I just had to put them back. Call by the Grave just saves everything. It protects LP, protects everything. You just, by the law of 1-ofs, if you're going to see your bad 1-ofs, you should just as much see your good 1-ofs, and that's the 3 behind these 2. This is searchable. This is not. That's why I also decided to justify cutting this down to 1 instead of playing at 3 or 2, was that this was searchable through Regulex, so not much more can be said. Finally, for the final 2 traps, we are rocking the same old, same old. This is an engine requirement to be able to play through hand traps, and this is an engine requirement to allow us to negate and make Echomaxes live and get that recursion for turn 3, which is cool. But yeah, that's it for the main deck, guys. Like I said, there's no need to continue on with it. Like I said, nothing much really has changed except for like the Ranroos and the Codebreaker. But this is where a lot of stuff has changed in the extra deck. So let's go ahead and run through it real quick. We're going to go through all the Crusadias, 2 Magius, 1 Spatha, 1 Regulex, 1 Echomax. We cut Avermax because of space. We just had to. There's not really much more we could do. And I'll explain to you what I cut it for and explain why. But there you go. Echomax is the G. He is the boss monster of the deck, if you ask me. All hail the king. You know what I'm saying? But not much more can be said. This is the typical 5-card Crusadia lineup that we've always played. To me, and my just philosophy, maybe we share the same, maybe we don't. If you're not ending on a Crusadia, are you really playing Crusadia? That goes for me with a lot of decks. That even like spreads on over into my 3 with Infernobles. If I'm not ending on Infernoble Emperor Charles, am I really playing Infernoble, or am I just playing like a VFD Turbo deck? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just my philosophy. There you go, the Crusadias. Now we're playing 1 LP because for some reason LP's here. Triple Burst in case we do get stopped at the LP and we don't have like the hand to go on. Something I've not seen in a long time, guys, is the double Skull Dread. So yes, you can make 2. So this deck actually, believe it or not, does require a brain cell to play, because you got to look at your hand and make sure that, do I have the resources to waste on another Skull Dread to get that additional resource, etc., etc. Sometimes this never comes up, but I have not found the need to cut it, because throughout the tournament, the remote duel tournament, I made 2 Skull Dreads twice. So, and it was needed to do that. I needed to make the Skull Dread because my hands were good enough to draw into more cards to finish off. But something I have found is sometimes 1 Skull Dread is just enough, because you have the code breakers that will just facilitate you enough like board presence that you don't even need to waste all those into the second Skull Dread. But it's entirely up to you. This could be a flex spot. You could probably put back a Link Spider, because we don't have the rock does hurt, so we having the ability to play through the rock and make, things like that could be important. But I'm still opting 2 Skull Dread. It has come up, like I said, I've been able to draw I think 12 cards one time we were testing, and I was able to make 1 Skull Dread, draw 4, make another Skull Dread, draw 4, pot of avarice, put back the Skull Dread. I had enough names to make a 4th Skull Dread, and just crazy things you can do when you have the resources. But at that point, you're just styling on your opponent. But yep, so that's it for the Dragon package. Moving on, we are playing the 1 Virus Swordsman and the 1 Virus Berserker. So these cards are bonkers. For those who don't know, I am going to show at the end of this video how this deck can play through Droll. Very easy. And I'm just going to do like a quick test hand and just showcase you guys. Like the first time we add, we'll get Drolled. There you go. It'll solve the issue right away. But these are what allow us to play through Droll. We no longer just make Echo Max pass. And these guys are busted. Summons out Codebreaker from the day, and then this guy summons up the Virus Swordsman and Daybreaker from the graveyard to co-link zones. And this guy says you can destroy spell and trap cards up to the number of co-linked or linked Codebreakers, so you're always going to be able to destroy 3. And when you do this, guys, like you're always going to have like enough damage because, let's see here. Take note, Skull Dread's giving the boost, right? So you're always going to have enough damage to do stuff. So technically speaking, there you go. This is at the point where if your opponent has no monsters on the field, you don't even have to make Echo Max to even attack for game. Right here is enough damage. 28. We'll give 300 here, 26. 300 here is 31. 300 here is 21. That's 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Echo Max, that's who. So we want to make sure he doesn't have to do all the work. So right here is just plain enough to shoot for game without even making Echo Max. But anyway, guys, the Codebreakers are, like I said, are really good. Like I said, shout out to Wowzers and a few other players from my Discord, like Saren and stuff like that. If you guys want to, check out a video that is up. It's members only, so think about hitting that join button. It shows I'd go more in depth on how to play through Droll and stuff like that, and how you can consistently put up interruptions through a Droll. I'll have that video up here showing you guys. So there you go, a little eye candy for you guys, for those who have been debating on becoming members. Hit that join button. So for moving on, guys, finally, 1 Apollousa Bow of the Goddess. This is what would replace Avramax. We can make this thanks to the Codebreakers very easily, and I was talking with the greatest of ease, guys. We can make this, and we make it with 2. We put it under Skull Dread, it becomes 21, so not just a plain old Drytron or Nova outs this card, which is nice. So this card normally has 2 to 3 negates on it, and in some cases you'll put 4 negates on it as well. But 2 to 3 is like the average amount you're doing. So these 2 plus Echo Max is 4 interruptions alone. The reason that we are playing this, because sometimes you will not see Waterfront. When you get Drolled, Waterfront is also dead. So we needed something that was on the same level or did almost the same thing that Gamma did, but it's something that we can make, and that's where Apollousa comes in. We have the ability to negate every Drytron name or every virtual name they activate. We can do that with Gamma, and we can do that with the Goddess Bow. Conveniently, Echo Max does gain the attack points of Goddess's Bow, because its attack points is what the link material it's made with. So we do get that, which is awesome. Otherwise, I'd be very skeptical of playing it, because then Echo Max would not gain this, and it'd be 0, but it does state on the card. It has been asked by judges. Echo Max would gain the attack of not 21, but 18 if you do use 2 material for it. But I mean, that still makes Echo Max 38, which is nothing to joke at. But yeah, I'll showcase you guys. This card comes up in a lot of combos, and I'll showcase you guys a little brief at the end of the video. Moving on, 1 Rafflesia, 1 Abyss Dweller. The two best rank 4s we could play. I know one of my friends told me to play Baguska, but I've not found the need to. But inherently, we do have space. Skull Dread, of course. Like the extra Skull Dread you could put in Baguska, or this like Synchro 8 that you could potentially put in for Baguska. Is just up to you. But these two are mandatory, I believe, because Rafflesia is an engine requirement, allows us to play through hand traps. Dweller just overall hits a universal of decks. You know, it's just a really good card to end on in a rogue matchup. For the final card, one Draco Berserker. This easily could be Savage. I was testing Berserker, and this did actually come up in a cool, like I only summoned this guy once during the remote duel tournament, but it was really cool because I decided to go here, and then he was like, Thuban effect, tribute Ben 10, and I was like, all right, so Tinny, negate, or not negate, banish Thuban. Thuban never touches down, so he didn't get the search, and I already had Rafflesia out with him. It was a weird, it wasn't really a weird board, it was a typical board that you see, and I kind of played off on it. It was pretty stupid because I would have had the ability to have like an app for 4, but I'm app for 2, but I made this instead, so I would have had a 2 interruption app or a Tinny, and I chose the Tinny. But he was like, Thuban effect. I was like, banish, and he's like, separate chain the Ben 10. I was like, Trap Tricks Rafflesia effect. Had to hope that was enough, and it was, thank goodness. And that was it. But you could definitely play whatever you want in place of this. You could play Savage, which I think I'm going to move back to, or you could play another Link monster. You could play another rank 4. Whatever you choose, guys. This is really a flex spot. Like I said, even along with the second Skull Dread, it's a flex spot. The second Skull Dread has come up more than the Tinny has, or this Synchro 8 spot has. So it's entirely up to you and how you want to play it. Fingers crossed Konami will give Crusadia as their own themed Synchro monster because of Arborea, but we have to wait until that day. But anyway, guys, I'm going to quickly jump into a quick test hand and showcase you guys real fast what the deck truly can do and how it can play through Droll. Okay, guys, we'll just quickly cut the deck here just to kind of showcase you. And let's go ahead and see our first hand. Ranru, Waterfront Perfect, Draco, Paralytic Seed, and Maximus. So we are going, so that's actually quite upsetting because we'd be able to stop Droll correctly because of this, but we'll just go ahead and that's just crazy. Let's just trade out a Paralytic Seed here for the next card, Monster Reborn. There we go. Because Paralytic Seed would just allow us to play through a Droll, and I want to get Droll, but it would make no sense to use this. You know, the correct play would always be able to make Rafflesia to stop the Droll. So let's just go ahead and get rid of the Paralytic Seed for any random card. We'll go ahead and activate Waterfront because, you know, why not? Like, you know, we don't know they have Droll. So we'll normal summon out Maximus, link off the Maximus for the Magius. Then we will special summon out the Ranru here. Ranru's effect will trigger, adding us Arborea. And see, this is where, like, you could also play through Droll in this scenario as well. You could Monster Reborn back here, make Rafflesia, and then you could, oh, wait a second. You know, you would have to, never mind. Woohoo, thank goodness. I was like, man, this hand could even play through Droll. But then we'll go ahead and add Arborea. We're going to get smacked with the Droll now. So Droll comes down. We no longer can add. Waterfront's dead. So we're just going to play through, and I want to showcase you guys how we play through Droll. So you just continue on your day here, as you would. Now, if you have any other hand trap, I mean, get wrecked. Better have it, Duelist. Spatha. We'll go ahead and special summon Draco. Draco's effect will add back here, the Maximus. We'll go ahead and link off here, Draco, into Spatha. Excuse me, into LP. Spatha's already joined the party. Spatha will move the LP. LP will summon from the deck Red Eyes Darkness Metal. Now, with Red Eyes Darkness Metal, we'll bring back the Draco. But since we're under Droll, there's no point in using a 4-material Skull Dread. Instead, we'll just use Spatha as a 2, link 1 material, make a 3-material Skull Dread using these 3 monsters. That will pop down Skull Dread here. There's no point using the effect or anything like that. And you can just go ahead and special summon out Arborea. Now, if you had 2 Arboreas, you could use Skull Dread's effect to special this one, so then it's still alive. And then we'll just link here for Virus Swordsman, excuse me. Virus Swordsman will then summon from the deck, hand, or graveyard. So if you happen to open it as a brick, you can still technically play. Summon out the 0 Day. You then link these 2 into the Berserker. There we go. And then Berserker will summon these guys back from the graveyard here. Now, let's see here. We can be conservative if we really want to. We can hold the Monster Reborn, but we don't have to. But I think that I will use it, to be honest with you, because we want to show the max potential, right? So we'll go ahead and fire off Monster Reborn, bringing back the Draco. So then we'll go ahead and, I have to think here. We'll go ahead and use, I'm just thinking on the way that we can do this. We shouldn't have to. If we didn't have to, I don't think we even had to use the Monster Reborn, to be honest with you, because now we can just go. Let's not use Monster Reborn. I just think that's adding too many scenarios to it. So we'll go ahead and go right here and make our Appaloosa. Appaloosa will gain 300 on top of its 2 materials, so that'll put it at 21, making it have 2 negates. Virus Swordsman and the Skull Dread will become a Link 3, because Link 2 and a Link, and just treat Skull Dread as a Link 1, will pop up in here into Equimax, because Equimax just is generic, believe it or not. He just acquires a Link monster. And then you can special summon the Maximus here. So right here, guys, we do have Equimax and the Goddess Well. So there's 3 interruptions playing through a Droll. Looking back on it, we could have probably Monster Reborn back the Spatha, and then we could have gone Spatha and 0 Day into Equimax. So there we go, and then put another counter on this, make it a 3 material Appaloosa by using 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's probably would have been the best play, but I didn't see it until now that it's already done. But anyway, guys, there you go. Remember, if you guys want to see some more combos or more test hands, comment down below. But if you guys also want to check out a more in-depth on how to play through Droll with multiple types of hands and etc., please think about becoming a member and get access to that member-only video. But guys, this is Charles from Team COG, signing out. Remember.